Good enough. Welcome to this week's What the Heck? Baby Cosmo Lives. Yeah. We got Izing. We've got Kitsu, Christian, and, well, same person, and Enthusiastic Electrons. Let's do super fast intros like who are you and what module do you have plugged in with the most LEDs currently? AKA, what is the best module you have? Start with, let's go counterclockwise with Christian first.
Right. Well, I'm Christian. I do music as a hobby. I try to get into a fun groove. But yeah, it's an interesting journey, I would say. Modular is it's pretty deep. And yeah,
It's super deep, yeah.
most LEDs. I don't know. Let's go with whatever. Fumana has a lot of LEDs, definitely.
Cool. All right. Tim, you're up.
All right. Well, I'm Tim, Enthusiastic Electrons. Just making sounds with electricity, and trying to design and build some modules, but still it's in the future. But most blinks got to be marbles. It's not my favorite. I use it all the time. And I still haven't I like it a lot, but it's the kind of thing where I realize that a lot of my modules have no LEDs. Like a lot of the AI synthesis ones, just aluminum panels. Like turn down the lights, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be all cool, and then like there's like just a little bit happening with the lights down. Except marbles, even with nothing plugged in, it just goes. It's just it's like it's a party of its own. So that's definitely has the most LEDs.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I'm Icing, regional man of mystery. I have, well, the one that has the most LEDs, I think, is probably the A10-8. But that's super boring because it's just a backlight in each jack socket. So it's kind of just boring, same color LEDs. The Oct has a lot of LEDs as well, blinking all the time. So that's a little bit more interesting to look at. Not sure any of those really count as the best one, but I mean, the Oct is cool.
Yeah. I'm Hex 7. I make poor generic music, but I built a lot of my synthesizers, so that part's kind of cool, I guess. But the one with the most LEDs, I think, technically would be the Rample, right? Like, it's got a little screen, basically, but and it's also awesome, but I think the Mega Drone has 10. That's pretty good too. Trying to think what else. Sequencer up top has a lot. I don't know, but the LFOs are simply my favorite because they're always doing cool looking things. Oh, what do we have here? OBS.
Hello, Mr. OBS.
Sorry, I didn't.
Tim's like, my laptop screen has the most LEDs. Yeah. What?
I mean, talking about LEDs and lights. I mean, this is pretty lighty. It's not a module, but it's right. Sometimes it does light shows, so that's nice.
That's great. That's great. I love it when they program in light shows. Like when my drum brute gets bored, it does what you see now. It's like running through its little and like hold sequence or whatever. Castor and Pollux also gets like honorable mention. It's definitely not the most LEDs because I peeked behind, but I do love that the jack sockets light up like in sort of the gaps between the potentiometers. Like it's just a beautiful rainbowy module. So honorable mentions there. Great sounding module too.
I think actually technically my black sequencer has more LEDs.
Oh yeah, because it's got an OLED screen, right?
Yeah, and it has a lot of buttons with LEDs on, I think.
Cool. All right.
I just want to say one thing about with things blinking and indicating is I had this sort of, it was kind of I don't know, it wasn't quite an epiphany, but it's this realization months ago. I was like, I'm just gonna program, sit down and spend time like program PAMs to do something. Because I hadn't really, like, usually I was just, I need a divider, I need an LFO or whatever. So I wouldn't really actually, intentionally do anything with it. And then a few months back, I had a small K. It was just like a 48 HP pod, or maybe it was 64. But I had a couple modules, and I had maths and I think tides and PAMs, and I was going to do something with PAMs. But then, like, as maths was going, and then tides was going, and especially maths, which is just it's your basic slope and those things, right? And just looking at them, but I didn't have any headphones plugged in. Just watching the LEDs change, sort of was a whole new way of looking at that, because I'm so used to just listening to what it's doing. And especially when you're modulating something with something like maths, it's always, or tides, it's like, it's then one removed. But this was sort of taking one step back in the other direction, where it's just, you can just see the relationship of this was, going from one color to the next and one color to the next, and then the relationship of how that was going. It was kind of a cool little moment.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I like visual feedback typically. Doesn't have to be on everything, but it certainly makes life easier. Like, my buffered multiples have bipolar LEDs, and depending on what signal I put in there, I can see very clearly what's happening just glancing at them. So I love
the
when
disting
they
modules
have-
usually have that as well.
Yeah.
It's a super nice thing. You can see what you plug in, if it's positive or negative, and of audio rate, whatever.
Right,
nice.
and typically that's what I look at instead of like my oscilloscope for signal like checking. Like, I want to see if it's a hard edge or not. Like, you only need one LED, right, to get an idea, unless you're looking at audio rate stuff.
Yeah, I built I don't know where it went, but I built a MIDI controller immediately before getting it modular. The last thing I built was it was a really large pedal enclosure with like 11 or 12 potentiometers and some switches and inputs and things like that, and it just basically was a MIDI controller. And I was like, I don't need any LEDs because it's just it's just going to the computer. But I realized I wish I had put one LED on just so I knew when it was on. Just like a power. Just confirm. Even though I knew it was on, if it was doing something, it's just like, I just want one.
I did exactly that move. Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of want that with all my modules. I have a couple of modules with no LEDs in it. It's always sort of nerve-wracking when you turn it on for the first time. You can't really tell if it works or not.
Right.
LEDs cost a lot of power comparably. That's a point.
That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Really? Are you sure about this?
We'll see. Maybe with the new power supplies, I won't worry too much. But like, there's some modules like mixers where I don't really care too much. Like, they help a little bit, but my dial-up, I wanted to actually build a LED indicator just so I know when it's like doing its thing. Even though it's spinning, but sometimes like it's old. If it catches and it's like stuck here, that'll really help me debug it. Anyway, I like LEDs. They're cool.
What is really cool, I haven't seen this on any other module so far, but I have a Elements clone, the Quarks, and this one has the tiny pods, but they are transparent, and there's an LED behind it that shows you the amount of modulation that is going on at the moment. I mean, the pod itself is the attenuator for the modulation, so you can see how much you turned it, how much modulation comes in. It's super neat. I mean, super clever idea.
That's very Volcus sample does that. Oh, and I don't know how you
I was just about to go grab
but this one does that too.
All the Volcos do that.
But yeah,
cool.
they're really handy. Like, it definitely isn't like the nicest aesthetic all the time. Like, it's not as clean as just an LED and a potentiometer or whatever. But in a compact space, it's hard to beat. It's super nice.
We got some clear Davies with those knob clones, the ones that I like. Was it the 1900, 1800? Anyway, the knob that I use a lot. There is a clear version, and that works really well on these.
Oh, that's cool. And yeah, these, sorry, you can't see it. It's the Soulsby at Megatron, and this is the Oditron variant, but there are actually like clear knobs on top of the potentiometer. which diffuse it a little nicer. It's really a good look. So yeah, they can be really nice. They're cool. I don't know if they're one LED. I don't know. I haven't ever built a module with one. It could be fun to try. Yeah. Should we talk about Freak Boutique shortly? Because Tim, you had like the coolest video modular patch that I've seen in a while.
Thanks. Yeah. That was actually the opposite of what we're talking about in a way, where it was.
Yeah.
So actually that's something that's on my to-do list, but it's far enough down that it probably won't happen. And it's very simple things. Like I used to do video projection before getting into modular. I did video projection with a band and other things, but mainly the thing was when I was in New York, we'd go out for a couple of years, every month or so and play somewhere. And I set up a bunch of projectors and projected live video loops, and it was a bunch of loops that I had created plus things that I would capture live with the camera, and then mix all at the same time. It was just sort of, just fun. And so then a lot of the soldering and controllers and whatnot that I sort of got into were ways of controlling that and just to have more fun with that and then do some video installations. So that was so once I discovered modular, I was like, I can use all those skills and like actually make music with it as opposed to, just need a big venue with projectors and whatnot. So this was a way of sort of bringing it around. Since I work with video all the time, this was a way of using the video to actually control the patch and go that way. And so this was video loops and the short films that I had shot with a friend years ago. And then I made a Max patch. So it was running in the VJ software that I've used, which is sort of based on Max MSP, but much easier to get going. It's, you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to define this is a movie, this is the clock, this is and so, but I did make a Max patch which analyzes the video and sort of analyzes different parameters of it. So with this one, I split it into quads. I split it into 4 parts, and then added up the pixel value, the 8-bit pixel value of each section, figured out what the max was. And
so
then
when you divided it up into 4 parts, like if you're looking at the screen right now, it's in like 4 quadrants, right? And whatever's in the top right quadrant is sort of averaged or something, right?
Yeah.
And that gives you your CV value.
Exactly. So that's basically I just converted that into MIDI and then sent the MIDI out to the modular and used modules to convert the MIDI into CV. And so that was one way to do it was just brightness, and then brightness of different areas of the screen. But then I added a couple more parameters like triggers and gates, and there's a comparator where if it was brighter than a certain amount, then it would send a gate, it would trigger something out. There's also something which was frame differencing. So every frame, I would subtract the pixel value of every individual pixel, subtract that from the previous frame, or vice versa. So that it's cool when you watch that video. What happens is it's totally black, but then if there's movement, you get this sort of a line where it's like only the different pixels light up. And so then did the same thing with that, where that's a way of analyzing how much movement is happening, and so that's another CV threshold. So that if it's faster, then it'll be higher and whatnot. And then you can also say like if it's above a certain amount, then that means like the entire frame has changed. So on a cut. So right now, what you hear with this part here, every time there's a flash, it would trigger something, and then you get this percussive sound. And so then also to get sort of a regular percussion, the video then I sent through, like one of the clips, the movie I sent through a sequencer in the VJ software. So it's actually slicing it up the way that I've never used Morphogen, but the way I assume it works, where it's like you end up with you have your entire clip, whatever it is, and then the CV, you can move around within that amount. So like if you, it'll keep looping this part, and then it'll loop that part. So on the left hand, you can see what I'm controlling there. The sliders are, those are 3 different video layers going up and down, and then to the left of that is the sequencer, the step sequencer for layer 1.
That's cool. That's cool.
So that way you get like percussion, and so I just had the, even though they weren't so in a sense that was actually creating percussion that was a certain time signature to the patch, but then beyond that I also had Pam's new workout doing something doing additional rhythm and some other things that weren't actually being directly triggered, only modulated by the video.
Okay.
And so everything was, and so that was just nothing. Those weren't actually in sync. They were just running at the same BPM. So.
Oh, okay. Oh,
they were pseudo in sync.
That's fun. Getting them started at the right spot. It's fun.
So I was actually that's what I was doing with the OBS before, is bringing up. I was going to show, trying to do a frame, screen capture. I just have to make it smaller. It's giant compared to the OBS window. Yeah. Okay, this is the video software. What it looks like. So the way I've set this one up, and you can customize it. This software is called VDMX, and it's you can have as many layers as you want. You can do different video layers. You can do crossfading. You can do it's really customizable. And then everything
for video.
That's exactly it. Yeah, and then you can do you can have a parameter to everything, so everything can be controlled through MIDI or OBS, which is what I was doing. Just made some sliders and buttons on the iPad on a program that just sends OBS data to the computer. So yeah, there's the clock down there. So let me bring up.
I can't actually see any of this because I have the window really small.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna have to rewatch this whole video. It's cool. Keep it going.
There we go. Okay, so this is a short film that I shot on a Bolex 16mm camera long ago. My friend crossing the street. So right now it's just free running. And then if I'm going to turn on the activate the step sequencer, so now you can see there's the step sequencer is running, and it's just repeating the first part because it's just at that first step. So now I can add, make that second step go to a different part in the movie.
I see. So you're sequencing where in the that's cool. Yeah, Morphogene does have sort of a sliced up.
I can slow it down so it's not playing now, and I can have change speed up and slow down the frame rate.
That's cool.
So
yeah, that's cool. If I wanted to touch computers, I would do more of that.
I know. So this is awesome. I have no experience with MIDI to CV before this. I have a lot of MIDI experience before this, just making MIDI controllers to control this. So I know how to make a button or a potentiometer talk to an Arduino and then send that wirelessly to another Arduino, which then tells the computer what to do. That's sort of like the extent of my skills. That, and I can make LEDs blink. But this way, but going from the doing CV or MIDI to the modular is new to me. So I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, that's going to the modular is one thing, but I think once you pipe MIDI information from your modular back in, like have it a little cyclic, like having some MIDI information, maybe control some of those video things, that's where it's going to get not only nightmarish in terms of cables, but like pretty cool.
Yeah. So I definitely want to do more, have more channels, because right now I tried using the SQ1, but it just couldn't keep up. It's fine if you probably just wanted to do melodies or something, but since this is going so fast, it just couldn't keep up with modulation.
So it's dropping like note off or whatever
it wasn't really dropping anything, but it was just slow. I mean, it was just compared. It wasn't smooth, and it's all quantized anyway because it's MIDI. But so I had it going through. I was using the No Coast as a MIDI to CV controller because it has two channels of MIDI. One controls the actual sound and gate built in, and then channel B, actually there are the two bottom left jacks are actually just straight up conversion, and you can tell it what you want it to be. So one is CV and the other one is gate. So right now I just had that set up to be pitch, and then the gate was triggered. So anytime velocity went over a certain threshold, it would just send out a gate. And that's normally I just have those going as LFOs because again, as I said, never really done much with MIDI. But that was really smooth. So I had that, and then for the New Year's Eve stream, that was going, and then the SQ1 was next to it. And SQ1's just like, and this was like, it's nice and smooth.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
and then it was just awkward and everything. So then I built that little just an expander jack for the disting. So the disting is now 2 more channels. So for the free critique, it was just 2 CV channels going through the disting, and then a couple more channels going through the no post. But I'd love to have more. I'd love to have more. It's all very expensive. But it's also something. Yeah, but it's like, but I've got a quad DAC which I haven't used, but I have, and it's like it's a good one. And so I just need to hook that up to a teensy, and that shouldn't be too complicated. But if I actually had that going through the a teensy, and I you can have that very easily hooked up as a USB MIDI device.
Right.
So it shows up to the computer as MIDI, and then I can just convert it. And if I don't care about actually having it, if I'm just doing CV and not worrying about the actual pitch, then I just scale it straight up to scale. Just say like 0 to 127 equals. And
it's a quad channel DAC, so you'd have four CV channels.
Exactly, 4 CV channels plus however many gates I want. Because you get gates.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that would be cool if I don't care about tracking pitch. Then it would be very easy to program. I don't have to worry about just like scale whatever the range is of the DAC to MIDI. But I realized that also, if I'm doing my own thing, I could also just have it just be a straight up serial connection, which would be faster than MIDI, and it would also be it wouldn't be quantized. You could just have the max MSP just do more. Just have a much wider, thousands of a range of, instead of 0 to 127, have it like 0 to 5,000, and then scale that in there, because 16-bit DAC is a lot of numbers.
Yeah, and
but I mean, for 16-bit,
it's more than needed, but it could still be smoother than, Than,
128 you can sort of hear.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Go ahead.
But then it would start to choke. I'm sure it would go.
Yeah.
There is a speed threshold.
Yeah. Does anybody have any more questions for Tim about that patch? Like, I thought it was pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. You might want to look at Serial OSC. That's the protocol that the Monome grid uses.
Okay.
I think it's open source, so should be easy to do. Because there's also a ready-made software that converts it back to MIDI on a computer.
Oh, that's cool.
If you want to, right?
Right.
So that's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also definitely, while I'm like, I don't want to spend $500 on a module that does something that I could build with the parts I have lying around, just because, like I can. On the other hand, I won't, because of just how long it will take, because I'm not good enough to actually do it quickly. So, there is a point where it's like, it's worth finding something.
Yeah, there's a balance there.
But it's crazy how expensive those MIDI CV modules are usually.
I know. Well, I'm also going to look at
even even if you look at the specs, it's like 12-bit or something. I mean, it's perfectly enough for pitch, but you're like, why is it not 16-bit? I mean, I'm paying a lot of money here for.
I know. I've been for years since I started with modular. It was only a few years ago, but my first idea was like, this is very easy to, I know how to do an Arduino program, and I know how to, like, I'll just make my own clock dividers. I'll make my own, like, all this stuff is, fairly simple. Like, I'm not an advanced programmer, but like, it's not hard, I can do that much, basically to make it work a little bit. And then, of course, we'll have problems and I'll have to solve it. But I'm also not good enough that it's still like a learning process for me. So it's like, it's slow, but part of that learning process was at the very beginning. I realized I can't just plug in the modular to that because you need buffering, you need protection, you need op amps and all that stuff. So that's what I've been learning over the last couple of years is all the analog side of it, which has been so much fun. And but I have the parts. But like in learning about it, I've gone to a lot of the forums. Like I found, I use the Teensy microcontroller a lot, and a big fan of that for for controllers and whatnot. So I was looking on the Teensy forum, and I found someone who was asking about. And was like, yeah, I'm designing this Eurorack thing. It turns out the thing that they were talking about ended up becoming the Ornament and Crime. So like, getting a bunch of advice from Paul, the designer of the Teensy. So I have definitely gone to their site, and then I'll definitely, I've looked through Winterbloom and I'm definitely looking through more of theirs and just figuring out. So like the DAC that I have is like the 16-bit one is the one that's used in those, So I know it's good. I just have to program it, but yeah, and also steal bits of code.
There's also some nice, I think, 2 of the modules I have. Let me quickly. I mean, I'm limited. I can't walk that far. Never mind. A couple of the modules I have, I think, have a DACINO, a DACINO, or something like that. PCB, like open source project, as one of the PCBs that they're built on top of. So I think the gate grinder might have that. I can't remember, but definitely the quantizer that I built over a very long time uses that. So there's some other cool like open source things that folks have built to just get the job done there. Like you can use it for all sorts of projects. It's not just specifically Eurorack by any means. Yeah, and let's see what else. Christian, thank you so much for your help. The other day I was asking about power supplies, and like I was getting a little annoyed because like I'm getting different answers from different people. I mean, I had a pretty rough idea of what I needed to do and how to do it safely, but you helped weed out some of those responses. But my least favorite response is like, if you have to ask these questions, you shouldn't be building a power supply. Like, yeah, you're right, but I'm gonna, so can you help me? Like,
better give me the answers, otherwise I will fry myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
what's the alternative, right?
Yeah.
Doing things wrong and it explodes. I'd rather have people ask me questions.
I was ready. I had like just off camera, I had my like fire extinguisher. Things are going through surge protectors. There's some level of safety, and also when like I plug things in, even in just a regular module, when I first plug it in, I have like the capacitors pointed away from me, like the electrolytic capacitors, because if those go, they go. I've been lucky enough to not have that happen, but I just see enough on the forums of folks that have, installed them the wrong way around or whatever, that I am very careful. What do I think of stages?
I'm a big Stages fan, to be honest, especially with the alternative firmware.
Yeah.
It's I mean, without it, it's a really nice module. It does quite a lot because it's so flexible, but the alternative firmware just adds a couple of handy features like the Turing machine built in, which is, I mean, I didn't expect it to have a Turing machine, but it has, so it makes it super flexible.
What do you use it for?
Usually I use it as a combination of simple envelope, and then I have a couple of stages left that I usually either use for random generators or just the manual CV with a fader, which is also just super handy. Otherwise, I can use it for a simple sort of AR envelope in addition.
So there are attack release envelopes.
Yeah.
Or you can use them as
You can
attack
do
release
whatever you
envelopes.
want.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah, basically, it's basically
okay.
a function. Is it a function generator? Is that what you would call it?
I don't know. I mean, the idea is that the name says it all, right? It's 6 stages. Whatever those stages are is up to you. So, attack release, it's two of the 6 stages. Attack sustain release is 3 of the 6 stages. Attack hold sustain release is 4 of the stages. But you can also do whatever attack sustain release, probably not as well, but I mean, you can.
So it could be like one complex envelope, a 6-stage envelope, potentially, or like
60Ks. You can just have
Right.
60Ks. Yeah.
Right.
That's how I often use it. 60Ks or just 6 LFOs, free running LFOs, depending on
Yeah,
what you
when I was first looking for I had no modules and I was looking for something that did that. The people at the store recommended Stages. That was before I was used to how expensive modules were. No, I cannot spend that much on a.
Yeah, I would say it's mass adjacent. Like, it sounds to me like a function generator to a degree in that, yeah, you can generate a particular wave shape, right? But it's a completely different, I think, set of controls and like layout enough that I think it's a different beast. So yeah, I think they're in the same like
they're sort of a
district, but they're like they're
yeah.
very different modules.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But I feel like it's similar in the sense of it's something which does a few things, but the way you configure it does a lot of things. It's just sort of that's the market in this.
You can sort of also do a lot of odd things because it's one of those things where it does something with the signal, right? It doesn't do anything on its own necessarily, but it does something with the signal. So because it has all those different functions, it's kind of mind blowing what you can do with it. And somebody gave me a couple of tips for that a while ago, and I was like, okay, you can do that with it. Like you can do track and hold with it. You can do sort of bit crushing with it.
You can use it as a sequencer.
Yeah, exactly. Like a 6-step sequencer if you want to do that. It's kind of waste of the module to do it like that, but you can.
Hey, 6-step sequences are at
and the harmonic oscillator with the old firmware. So technically you could have a just stages rack pretty much and do quite a lot with it.
That's cool.
Exactly. Yeah, you can chain multiple stages together if you want more stages.
I feel like that's how a couple mutable, if you had just had tides, you could do something. Although this thing is like it's much more programmable because tides is sort of like it has its its set shapes of things that it does. But that's just speaking out of experience of the mutable module that I have. I'm working on this though right now. This is a mux slicer, so that's again
cool.
It's one that can do, it's just like does a few things, but does a lot depending on how you use it. And,
that's pretty cool.
Also, that new after later maths thing.
Oh my gosh!
I gotta say that
so much, and I'd like sort of considering a new like small case where it'd be like that, and then the mux slicer and a couple the stereo dipole, which I just got recently and love.
Yeah, that quart I think is worth briefly mentioning. Like it
looks super interesting.
It took me a minute to like when I first saw it, I was like, but then I realized it is sort of like a mass. It is a mass alternative. Like if I didn't have mass already, I would get it for sure. Like right now, because it looks pretty cool. It comes in black. My mass did not.
I know. I'm still looking for more envelope generators, and I use maths as an envelope generator a lot of the time. And I was like, if only maths had like 2 more channels, of that, and that's exactly what that is.
And I can't say I love mass.
Go
ahead.
Philistry.
Yeah, the Philistry is great. It's great. It's mass minus 2 HP or something, and a little bit better in terms of the UI, I think.
Well, no attenuators, right? So
right.
If you need that, but a VCA and a clock divider, and I don't know what else.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
I have to admit, I don't have math, and I never had maths, so I don't understand what the hype is about.
I think the patch programmability is really neat. I mean, I can see the point by now. Like in the beginning, I was also like, why would I need that? Because I mean, I rather have a 4-channel mixer and 2 envelopes instead of a weird 2 envelopes with a mixer put attached to it and whatever. But yeah.
Well, I think I think
I'm with you there. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think when I just had maybe 4 or 5 modules, I kept wanting. I didn't. There are a lot of things that I wanted to do that I couldn't do because I didn't have the module for it, and so sort of look up like I want to do this, and I'd look up what can do it, and like every single time, no matter what it was, maths could do it. And
Yeah.
so finally, it's just it's a pocket knife. It's like
Yeah, that's why I got it. I was like, okay, I can do all these things. I'm not particularly excited about any of them, but now I can do them. Like,
Right.
I'm not like passionate about math, and I don't particularly like it as an envelope generator because I find the attack release knobs a little unpredictable because you can move. There's that sort of exponential linear attenuator that they're just too unpredictable for me. Like I like my attack release to be like, okay, I can set these about here and I know what it's going to sound like or what the shape's going to be like, that kind of thing. So I've been using it for weirder stuff that I don't need that precision. And also like the scale, how wide you could go with things is it's much wider than I would expect from like a typical envelope.
Yeah, it does like what, 30 minutes or something, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. Long.
And yeah, and especially if you put CV to control those levels.
But it's super interesting. Like there's so many different opinions about function generators and envelopes. I mean, many people swear on the math envelopes for the snappiness, right? I never had a problem with snappiness without a math, but okay. Maybe I'm just not doing fast enough music, I guess. I don't know. But it's,
which ones you have, I think.
yeah, exactly. But it's super interesting to see how people use different envelopes and how they like the way they work. I had a mini slew at some point, the WMD mini slew. And I just couldn't. It's the same with what you said about maths. I felt it's too unpredictable. I couldn't figure out how to set it to something that is useful to me. Like either it was too snappy or too long, and it just didn't feel right. It's kind of interesting.
Right, and I think there's a different need for different types of envelopes, right? Like mass is great if I need a super long LFO, like I just want to add some variation or dissonance or something, whatever the thing is over a long time. But like when I want to play like oh geez, I think all of those are unplugged. I don't know. Okay, we'll go like a basic synth leader bass, right? Like there's certain expectations I have in the ADSRs I have in my box of like set the bar, and I keep asking for folks to suggest ADSRs, but I'm just not stoked because I keep getting like attack decay, which is not the same. Sustain makes I think a huge difference, particularly if you want a bass like a really smooth, funky bass. Like lower that sustain, have attack decay, and just a little bit of sustain on there, just beautiful. Anyway, I like my ADSRs, and so now I'm trying to find like small ADSRs for tiny Cosmo, so I can do something similar, and I'm just not finding what I like. So I'm looking around. Maybe Stages will do the trick. I don't know.
Stages will definitely do the trick. But it does a lot more. So if you don't want all the more, then maybe it's overkill. But
and typically I don't want like there's ADSRs that have CV input for all of the control, so ADSR, like you can CV input all of that. I don't care about that at all. Like I'm not interested in controlling those levels via CV for the most part.
For that, yeah. I enjoy Quadigy quite a lot.
Quadigy?
Yeah, Quadigy. It's digital, so you have just one control, but you have 4 ADSRs, and it's super neat because it's sliders and it has a pickup, so you can it tells you on the little display like the slider is too high for this envelope. You have to go down and pick the value up and then adjust it.
Oh, so they're latching, right? Like they sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
cool.
Exactly. Sliders are latching. It can do. You can set levels. You can clock it if you want, and have
it's not black, but it does look perfect.
For ADSRs, I really love it.
Yeah. That's cool. I'll take a look at that.
I bought a super cheap ADSR Junior from what is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, I got it for basically almost free, and it does nothing except have 4 knobs for ADSNR and a loop button, and yeah, there's
Yeah,
supposed to be an expander that does a couple of things which would be nice to have, but right now I just use it as the most simple ADSR I can have.
and
Yeah,
I
Because it
I've
has
also
got
the
the
like.
AI synthesis one, which is it's simple. That's the only ADSR I have, but I would love to have. I'd like to have one with sliders. I think the Instruo one just has LEDs.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
I'm
that
indifferent.
I feel like that or the Befacco
yeah.
one. I'd love to have.
The Fatco has a good one. I don't know what it's called, but I don't. I mean, I'm indifferent for sliders versus knobs. Like, as long as it's an ADSR. The ones I have are pretty cool. Like they're very well designed. I think in that there's a manual trigger, so it's a momentary switch. That if I flip on, will just hold the voice on, which is cool. Typically, I'll do that very performatively with the Megadrone. I don't even know if that's on right now, but yeah, very low. But I'll do that with the Megadrone. And it's got 3 modes: ADSR, gate loop, and then loop. Gate loop is if I'm holding down a gate, it will continually loop until I stop. And loop, it just turns it into an LFO. And then it's got a time knob for everything. So if I control the time knob, I can make it super fast or super long all in one sweep. So that's why I'm a little spoiled with these. Like it does a lot of things really nicely. So that's I have a high bar for ADSRs apparently. But I think they're important, particularly with filters. So
Yeah, I kind of feel like envelopes is something you need to have quite a lot of in a case.
yes,
I
yes.
feel I have too few of them. And
That's,
also
that's
for
why
sort of
that new Quarv looks so good.
Yeah.
yeah.
Quarv was appealing to me, particularly for like drum sounds.
Yeah.
4 envelopes right there. That's
I feel like I need
sick.
something because, like right now, like if I want 4 envelopes, and sometimes I do, I don't have 4 of the same, unless you count tides, but that's only one trigger. Um, so yeah, it'd be nice to have. So I've got that. That's actually what you're just talking about. Is there have been some patches which I've made where I often use tides as a 4 voice. Like put in oscillating mode, put it into a quad VCA, so each of the voices is its own thing, and then you can do the spread in chord mode, and then trigger each of those different voices independently. So then you get like, it's a way of sort of like arpeggiating, but then you can do different tempos for each of the voices, and it's pretty cool. But for doing that, I'll use maths for 2 of the channels, and then I have a little, I've got the AI ADSR for another one, and then I've got a little Pico, or is it the Erica synths, one that's it's just an attack release, and so that's for another one. And so like you're talking about maths being a little tricky. Like I've used maths enough, and I started out with the no code. So I even though it is a little fuzzy compared with what you're talking about for just dialing it in, I know how it works, so I can get what I want.
Yeah.
And also like that fuzziness is like that's sort of my thing as well. Like I like the make noise mindset. Like I enjoy that personally.
I know.
Like,
You're like,
I
I'm
know
gonna
what's
ping a
happening.
filter.
Yeah, like I know
And I'm like,
roughly
what pitch
I'm
is
doing.
that?
I aim at it, and then it does something else, and that's cool. That's what I like. But anyway, that's the thing is like I know how to work that, and I know how to work this, but like they just don't respond the same. If you're trying to like dial in, if you're trying to get all of the envelopes to do the same thing, and they're completely different. One's an attack release for drums, one's a classic ADSR, and the other's maths. Like it's not going to be the same.
Well, that's not even. I mean, as long as it's somewhat predictable. Like a lot of the things I like to do, because I do like preset sequences, is like I might have a longer or open up the time on the sequence just to get a different feel. It's more like held notes, and then turn it super snappy really fast, or particularly on the bass lines, I'll open up the sustain to do something similar. But yeah, as long as it's somewhat predictable, I'm cool. In the maths, I just it's always been in a hard to see spot. It'll actually be once I finish that other case closer to this height, which will be much easier to work with, I think. So maybe that'll help.
Silver one's also.
I like maths for drums because of that exponential.
Yeah, it's great. It is. good for that.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to go into function generator. I don't know how we got there. I mean, they're cool. You know, you're like into modular when you get excited over a new function generator, like Quarv.
Yeah, for real. I actually don't have any LFOs if I'm thinking about it. I just have envelopes.
That can
I
cycle?
think, yeah, that can cycle. I mean,
Yeah.
stages is probably the closest if you use stages as LFOs. That could
Yeah,
count as LFOs, I guess. But it's
it's
probably the
6
closest to,
adjustable
yeah.
LFOs, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
there's no
also have some
dedicated.
pretty.
One of my favorite
Yeah.
modules is the dope for 4 HP Quad Lfo, which is just free running LFOs, and it puts out a triangle and a square simultaneously for each of them, and it's just like basic. Can't control. I mean, you
Yep.
can control it. It's like it's not tied to anything else. It's just
Yep.
happens all the time.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, I don't.
Could use it.
Mine have sort of a sync option, but that's different than like a clock sync for sure. Like it just restarts the wave. But I have 2 LFOs. There's another small one up there, but these 2 big ones are like monsters, and I don't think I'll need any other LFOs because they have 14 wave shapes. They have sample and hold. They have like they're monstrous in terms of what they can do. I can offset everything. I can do some blending. There's levels. There's CV controls and attenuators for all that stuff. I can multiply the speed significantly to audio rate. Like I can do it all. It's great. So that's why like in little tiny Cosmo I've got like a div kid the Oct or OCHD
Yeah. I have that one as
in
well.
there because like it's free running, it's fine, it'll probably do the job because typically I'll probably use that for like a little warble on things or whatever.
Yeah, I tend to use the slow ones the most. Yeah, that's for no particular reason. It's
I mean,
nice to have really
I use slow ones for
evolving
like
stuff,
the
yeah.
longer ambient or held notes or things like that where you can really just like hear it.
One thing that really drew me to the AI synthesis ADSR was it's when you the full length is like a 25-minute loop without doing any sort of patching any extra CV into it or anything like that. And I haven't used that yet. I will. I love that. Slow, but it's fun. Someday I'm going to do like a slow evolving patch, which I just hands off.
That's cool. I'm trying to think of the long. I don't think I've ever gone anywhere near that long on a.
Yeah.
I think it requires more patience than I have, because I want to hear something before it's part of a set or whatever the thing is, and if I have to wait like 5 minutes to go through a loop, I'm sort of out. So what I'll do is I'll crank up the LFO to pretty fast, hear both ends of what the sounds will be like, and then I'll slow it way down. But
yeah, I feel like with and tides also I use for slow. Like I think the slowest, I guess it wasn't even that slow, but I don't use it as much as for modulation as as I thought I would. I usually use it just because it's such a nice sounding, and versatile oscillator voice. But for the drone day patch, I had that one going all 4 and sort of going much slower than I normally would. So it's just each thing was slow, and you can sort of adjust it and sort of get them out of phase. And it's cool because the shape, you can do a shape, so then it had made it where it was smooth, but then it would sort of go up and then go like wow at the end, and then like really slowly go back down, kind of thing, on both sides, and it was really cool.
So you get a little character in the middle, so it's not
exactly. But I feel like that's
cool.
one, like tides for me is one where it's like Forrest was just talking about like maths, where it's like the same thing where it's like either I'm not using the module or I want to use it for 2 things at once, and you can only use it for one thing. But
that's true.
That's the challenge, and that's the puzzle.
Yeah. I don't know.
What works really great with tides as well is to use it like a mangrove. If you know the Mannequin's mangrove oscillator, you can if you use tides as AD, but then trigger it at audio rate from another oscillator, that that has a sequence,
Uh-huh.
you can get really tiny little signals. Like most of the length of the signal is silence, but then you have like a
Yeah.
small spike, and that is pretty similar to what Mangrove does, and
Nice.
it sounds really nice and organic.
Oh, I'm gonna try that out. Yeah, lately I've been using it largely as a slightly detuned quad saw, or it sounds fat.
Yeah.
But yes, that sounds cool. That sounds pretty interesting.
Does anybody else have love for the Woggle Bug? I think there's a few Woggle Bugs, right? Because Woggle Bug is sort of the name of the circuit, if I remember right.
Yeah. Erica has one.
Yeah, and Make Noise.
Obviously.
And I don't know who else, but I've seen a few of them around. I think it's typically like a random noise, not noise source, but a random voltage source is a better way to put it, right? Again, my LFOs do that, so I just use those, but I don't know. I've not looked into it. Do you have any opinions on Woggle Bug?
It looks cool, but I don't need that much random. I have the Sapel from Frap Tools, which does already more random than I usually need. So I could swap it for Wogglebug, but why? Like it does everything I need. So I'm not particularly. But it looks cool in demos, I feel.
Yeah.
I have one random module as well, but it's not the Wogglebug. I have the Qubit NanoRand, which has a couple of nice random outputs, like stepped random you can use into a quantizer, or it has like random LFOs or random audio array as well, if you want that kind of stuff. I don't use it very much, to be honest. I don't. I've sometimes used it as sort of a random modulation input or that kind of stuff. I use the random gates more than I use the other stuff.
Yeah, I didn't love the way my quantizer worked, which sort of ruled out my random, my wanting to play with random outside of like occasionally demolishing sounds with random voltage. But
I got the yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I got the Woggle Bug Lite as part of the No Coast.
Oh yeah.
It's funny because I always thought, when I started out with this, I was like, I don't like random. I like, complex. I was like, I wanted things that were like sort of interacting in a way where it was like, it wasn't random. If you did, really did the math, it could predict where it was going to go, but it was so complex that it seemed random, like you couldn't predict it necessarily. But within that, there are patterns that your subconscious can pick up on, and it's more musical. Like that was my sort of attitude going into it. And then I started getting random modules, and it's just so easy. Just patch it in, and it gives you things, So like so I find that I'm using random more than I thought that I would. Like I got maths, or not math, marbles. When I got marbles, I thought this will be my quantizer, because I don't have a quantizer other than the disting if I want to do that.
Right.
And I usually don't quantize, because that's not the style of that I do. I'm more sort of like tune until there's something's going on. But maths, when I was like, this seems like it could be a really cool quantizer, just because it's, when you program it in, and it's actually quantizing external pitch, and then you can make your own scale, but then also there's you could adjust like the probability for each of the notes and everything. I actually I've only used that like that once or twice, and I'd like to keep using it more, but I find that it's just, it is handy for random. Not necessarily as the center, but I just got the random sample and hold, which has random both stepped and noise,
cool.
Which is pretty cool. And I had the Doper one, which I didn't use as much. So anyway,
that's cool.
Yeah, I put marbles in my rack recently again, mostly for the percussion mode, actually, because that's sort of a mini.
Yeah.
What is it? Grids.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's why I put the other reason I got it. I was like, once the quantizer was the one that put me over the edge, like the function, but like the fact that it has so many different functions in one module. So I was like, well, I could get a Turing machine and a quantizer and a drum, like a percussion, divider and all these different things. Like it does all of that, sort of interrelated. So it seems like it was a good investment in terms of just being able to do a lot of different things. So I do use different parts of it for different patches.
I've been wanting to play a little bit more with marbles and its ability to do related sequences, which sounds super cool. But the results I've been getting with it hasn't been super encouraging.
Yeah.
But sort of the idea is that you could feed it a sequence, and it will sort of analyze the distribution of CV values or nodes, and sort of remix that into a new sequence.
Yeah. You know what we need is because you know what does that really well is a micro freak, and I think possibly also the newer Keystep Pro or whatever that I think also has this sort of spice mode. But like, I can program a little sequence in there, like an ARP sequence or whatever, and hit spice, roll the dice, and like it is magic. Like it comes up with a new sequence based on what I have, and it's incredible. So a module that just does that, feed it like a handful of CVs. Handful of CV or a MIDI signal, and output a nice little sequence for me, and that'd be just the greatest.
Yeah, I did a patch once where I used a crossfader, so I had like one sequence going, and then it would crossfaded over to marbles instead, which would have the same sequence just varied.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was good, but I liked the idea.
But it worked.
It was probably good.
Yeah, it worked, but I mean, it was super hard to get the related thing to work properly because there's sort of an offset, and the offset is actually super sensitive. So you can often get it to output like half a tone the wrong direction. It's really hard to tune it right.
Did anyone try the bloom, the qubit bloom? Because apparently that is supposed to do that, I guess.
Oh, I want to say CK was using the bloom at one point. I can't remember.
I think so. Yeah.
That's one that
few folks
really
I've talked to have used it. Yeah.
I feel like because that's the sequencer that I was sort of working on as a max patch the first time I was doing MIDI was something where it's a sequencer based on like you nudge one parameter and it has a ripple effect. So you're not just changing one note.
Yeah.
And it's the bloom. Like when I was looking into it, I was like, that's not. I feel like that's something which I'd really like to play with and try out. But I'm also not sure that I'm not entirely sure about it. Like I've heard good things, and I've heard people who it's like I loved it, and then I just stopped using it. But it seems like a really cool thing to explore.
I feel that way about most modules. Like if Make Noise sent me any of their shared systems, like they have different systems configurations, like any one of those, I would love playing with for like months, and then I could send it back. Like I could play it out of my system.
Yeah, Bloom is the first one. I've never bought. Like I've built my system slowly enough that like I only get a module once. So it's like I really know that I want this function, and so like I haven't. Like I use most of the modules, and there hasn't been any that I sort of rejected and like I don't want this anymore. The Do for Noise might be the first one, just because I replaced it with the After Later Sample and Hold, which does the same thing but without knobs, but it also does a little more because it can take external sources, and then also the first mixer I got, now I have a bigger mixer, so I don't do that one.
Yeah,
but and also the
Make Noise
I replaced. I've got two headphone outs now as well, so there's a little bit of redundancy. But aside from that, there hasn't been one where I was like, I just don't use it much anymore, so I get rid of it. But
me all the time.
Yeah.
I know. I have plenty of those. Like Morphogene is the only Eurorack one, right? I've got a few Cosmo modules I really should put up for sale. They're great modules, but I don't need two of them. It turns out.
Right. Well, but the Bloom is one where like when I've thought about getting that one, that's the first one which I've considered where I was like I would plan on selling it. Like I would plan on buying it, using it a lot, learning from it, and then plan on getting rid of it. Of course, that said, I might fall in love with it. But
yeah.
And that's how I feel about some of the modules I just got from Air Instruments. Like I may love them. I don't know yet because like I don't have enough to sort of. I haven't spent enough time with them yet. Is the short answer. But if I don't love them, I don't mind selling them. I just they're fun to play with. In the meantime, I don't think I'll have a hard time selling them.
Yeah, I just like to try things out myself. Like you can watch videos to no end, but I understand the features and I can select based on the features, but that doesn't mean it works for me.
Right, exactly. Like I understand, like some of the videos do like this really painful, really slow sweep of every potentiometer, like walk through every single preset or setting. Like that doesn't work for me. Like what if I want to do this or this, and like how does it feel? Like you can't go into like a guitar shop, like a music shop, right? Like and like you can pick up a ukulele or a guitar or whatever, and play it and like get a feel for it. There's nothing even close to me that has modules. I just
Right.
like have to hope.
I mean, there's way too much anyways. I have a
Yeah.
store like an hour away that has a couple of modules on display actually. So you could play with it, but it's super random. I don't know what they have on display. So they might have what I want to try or not. So yeah, I'm
Right.
not
Right.
going there just on a chance.
We all need we need to be as lucky as Kyle Signal Sounds.
Right.
Just get sent modules to try all the time and take pictures.
Yeah.
Like that's all I want to do. I just want a module. Like send me a module a month, and I'll send it back. Just
A
like
module subscription, kind of like old
Yeah.
school Netflix for modules.
yeah, yeah,
There are these
Yeah, my
clothing
office,
subscriptions where you get outfits once a month. Something like
Yeah.
that, right? Like
Yep.
a tiny system, you can pick stuff that you want to keep and pay for. The rest you can send back. Something like that.
right, right. Like I would like to try the Erica Black sequencer to know if I like the Erica Black sequencer before I drop $800+ on the Erica Black sequencer. Like that kind of stuff.
But basically, that's what I mean. I just buy used. You know,
Yes.
sometimes you have to wait. I don't mind. I just wait. But I pick the modules I want to try. I wait until they appear for a reasonable price used. I buy them. I try them. If they don't work, I sell them and maybe come out with 0-0, maybe with like a couple of euros loss, but that's fine. So yeah.
Right. And I do the same, except for Bastel stuff. I am an idiot and buy it right away. But everything else, like I typically wait. Like my cameras are a great example of like they're GoPro 5s, Hero 5s, and they do the job. But like once the GoPro Hero like 9 came out, all the prices on the 5s dropped even more. So I was like, sick, time to buy. And some of these other ones, like if you want a maths, now is the time to probably get a used maths because of people all about the Quar. I don't even remember what it's called. Quarv.
Quarv. Yeah.
I got the first 4 letters. Good enough. Yeah. So I mean, this is a good time to buy a few things, and if there's like a new sampler module, like yeah,
the used market isn't very big where I live, but I've been fortunate enough to be able to sort of walk and pick up the used models I've bought, which is nice.
That's cool.
Yeah. But I have like an search agent thing going on the classified side, so I get notification every time there's something Eurorack coming up.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of Behringer mixers called
I know. Same here.
Yeah, get some of those search alerts. That's what I do. Tracy saying they don't trust the availability of modules based or on the used market, and that's like fair. Like there's a lot of modules that I'm into that, you know, if I pop into Reverb or wherever, they don't show up. But that's where I create alerts. eBay is another place I look a lot. It's definitely easier in the U.S.
Yeah.
I'm guessing U.S. and some places in Europe. I'm not sure.
Germany is pretty good. Like the used market only in Germany is pretty active. There's probably a handful of modules every day that get listed. But then, I mean, you have all the surrounding countries, right? I mean, buying from France, unless it's a 50 euro mixer or whatever, is totally worth it. So that's fine.
Yeah. And you know, all the Discord channels that have the buy, sell, trade, whatever channels, that happens also on a bunch of discourse forums and things like that. So once you know what you want, you can keep your eye out if you're patient. You'll find what you want.
Especially there are a couple of modules, maybe just a handful, where, you know, when the first time I looked through, there were a whole bunch of them available on Reverb. And I was like, I don't want this, and then like I can always get it later, and now I want it. Of course, no one's selling it anymore. So, like,
Yeah.
I feel there's waves. For some modules, there seem to be waves. Like I don't have a good example, but some modules you don't see for months at an end, and then suddenly there's like 5 of them in a short time frame. It's super weird.
Yeah, I feel
That
like
was
I
that way
don't-
for masks for me. Like masks actually make noise. We're like out of them for a while in various places, and then the used market sort of dried up. But once they came out again, I saw them like a few months later pop up on the used market in bulk.
I was going to
It
actually
was
ask you how you
really
got that
good.
black one. That's not.
I ordered the gray something.
Oh, right.
Might even say on there. Like I ordered a replacement panel from somebody else. I would love the black one, but I suspect if you've dished out for a shared system, you're probably not parting with your black mass for less than 500 or I don't know, some absurd
super
amount of money.
overpriced. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought a module a couple of weeks ago, and it came with a silver panel instead of the black one I've ordered, and I'm super unhappy about it.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I bought the 2 HP compressor,
I mean,
which is actually pretty nice.
there's some like I don't mind like what was that module you recommended earlier? Let's see, the Hp Quad Envelope. It looks
Yeah.
pretty good, but I might see if like if
It has black
there's a
borders on the top and the bottom.
it does have black borders, which is a really good start. I would like to see them continue that trend throughout the module and maybe invert the text. But but
I mean,
my point
yeah.
is like if it's not like a $500 module, like I can just get like maybe a spare panel and spray paint it black and draw on it. You know, like it's not a huge deal. So.
Yeah, I really wanted like a patchwork of colors, but then it seems like the more and more modules are just black. And what's funny is that I actually split this when I put this together. It's 126 HP, 2 rows of it, and I organized them purely by what I wanted accessible and also like where the jacks were. So anything with the jacks on the bottom, I put on the top, and vice versa for the most part.
Yep.
And it just happened to be it's like a row of black on the bottom, a row of silver aluminum panels on the top, with a couple exceptions. So there's, like
that's pretty good. You're shredding in both black and aluminum worlds, but like, while I appreciate black modules, I'm not gonna be that stuck to it for Tiny Cosmo because I think there's a bunch of beautiful modules out there. Like Castor and Pollux, I don't think is actually black. It's like a deep purple of some sort. Dunk, it looks amazing. If I get a mutable instruments module, it'll keep the mutable instruments white look because I have a huge respect for them and don't mind that. Dreadbox has colorful modules, which I quite like. Maybe I'll get the phaser or something. So I'm not going to stick too closely to that, but if it comes in black, I'll get the black version.
Yeah, I got mutable replacement panels in black, but they are as close as possible to the original panel because that's actually a really nice panel.
Yeah, and I do think like I've seen a few of those around. Like warps look super cool in black and things like that. So, but yeah, they can't all be the florist. The local florist is a super cool green module. Like I think there's there's a lot of artwork involved in these modules, right? Like there's a lot of cool artwork, and some of them
not in the
more
black
than
ones.
others.
They're just black.
Right. My point is the black ones are just the straight white ones. It doesn't really matter because there's not a lot of thought. Like to make noise, do a little bit of creative stuff. I'd say the Woggle Bug's probably their most interesting visually because it has the like little explosion-y design. But other than that, I don't think it matters because like again, what you see on the stream is like cables, some LEDs. Like that's pretty much it. So.
But it's for me. I don't care about stream. It's for me. I see them.
Yeah. I'm glad you can't see things up close. Like my spray paint is scratching off a bunch of places.
I'm still sad about the further generator. I just didn't enjoy the sound and working with it, but I love that panel. Like
do you have the yellow panel or did you have
of course the yellow panel. The real
Endorphins
panel.
yellow. I would love an
shuttle,
entire yellow Endorphins shuttle system. Yeah, I love their aesthetics. They have little cute things there. It's great.
I mean, that is probably something like if I don't want any modules anymore and I just have the money lying around, that would be something I would buy. Just a shuttle system as one
Yeah.
piece.
It's a great system. I've spent a lot of time looking at that. and drooling. I very much like Endorphin's products. I don't have any,
They have a
I don't-
new
I only have the
design,
one,
right?
but
They announced a new design today. It's now all silver and a new logo and everything, and
ooh,
totally
new website.
minimalistic design.
Endorphins,
I don't
let's
know
look it
about the
up.
website. I just saw it on, I don't know, on Instagram, I think.
Yeah, the new white modules on the website I can see now.
Yeah, I think it's silver. I don't know.
White
Or
or
is it
silver.
white?
Oh, it
Oh yeah,
it
yeah, but that's
looks
a new
white.
design.
It looks white. It's
Looks
called
white.
silver, but yeah, maybe it is silver. Hard to tell.
Hard to tell. Yeah, we'll have to wait till somebody buys it. I'm still very much hoping they resolve any of the issues with ground control. I'd love that to be a primary sequencer for me, because it is like my pyramid in a Beat Step Pro had a baby and made a little thing. So like that would be just my dream come true if they did that. So I'm still dragging my feet on a sequencer for Tiny Cosmo, but please make it good. Just everybody I know who got it was disappointed. So
Yeah, I kind of like sequences with a piano layout on it as well. It feels like a little bit of misuse of HP, but it also sounds like it's something that's got a bit of possibilities.
there's a speed involved to it. Like you
Yeah,
can hit a
exactly.
note and set some triggers. But yeah, anyway. Um, I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, somebody asked a question about 1U modules. Let me scroll up
Right.
a bit. What are your favorite 1U modules? Zoe Meets World asks.
Yeah,
I don't
my
do
one
one
view,
U.
my one view strip is pure utility. I have an ADSR, a buffered mold, a regular mold, and then I got the Tom's util, the trigger thingy.
Yeah.
All sort of utility. I don't think there's a single favorite module there, but it's just nice to have.
Does that work well in one U? The Thames util?
Yeah, I haven't tried the other one. I think it's basically the same module, just flipped around, right?
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, from the feel, like the display and everything, does it feel
Yeah, I
good?
haven't tried
Good.
the regular one. I'm
Right.
not
Yeah.
super crazy about the module, to be honest. It does what it does pretty good. It doesn't save the settings when I turn the system off. I have to manually save every time,
That's
and I
like
hate that.
OC. Yeah, I
Yeah,
hate it too. Yeah.
I don't actually even know. I think the closest thing I have to 1U is like Eurorack. Maybe
That's
it's
the spirit. That's
Bastel
the spirit.
Drum is about it, but that's yeah. So I can't answer this question. I think it's a cool, like that make noise shared system with the center CV 1U row. Like that thing is brilliant. Like I think
you
that
can get it
is the
now in a DIY version from ST Modular.
ST. Mm.
Yeah, I just saw
Oh
that.
yeah, I saw that ST Modular had that out, which is really cool. So I think that is the most interesting use of 1U that I've seen. As far as like audio out or individual drum modules and stuff, it's like it's sort of a compromise. Like if you're really short on space, you've got a 1U row and you need to fill it. There's some cool modules out there, but I don't know.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's
then
like
I
a
mean, then you
non-direct,
have.
right?
Sorry, no, go ahead.
I was just thinking I don't have any one you.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I feel like you got to have the one U first to make use of it. Like I don't see
Yeah,
why you should get one U just to have one U.
yeah,
I mean, by now there's some cool modules out there and it's nice and all, but I don't feel like there's anything I want to have, and I want to get a one U compatible case just for those modules. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been kind of the same experience for me because I mean I got one U when I ordered my case. I thought that would be. I mean, it's just more possibilities, right? It's just more options that I wouldn't otherwise have to get it, and it doesn't take that much space. But now that I have it, I feel like I'm not sure I get very much value for money there.
yeah.
I mean, take for example, I have a regular mold there. It's 2 times 2 times 6 or something like that. 2 times 5, I think it is. But I also have a Dofer mold, a regular Dofer mold, and that only takes 2 HP for a 2 times 3 mold. So it's not very efficient use of space when it actually comes to it. And yeah,
I mean, I would like there are some, like, especially with the new Mosaic modules, there are a few there which look good and less expensive than the 3U version.
Right.
But yeah, at this point, like, since I'm building all my cases, and I'm also not cutting my own rails. It's like that. The biggest expense of building my own cases is the rails at this point, since I'm not, until I sort of get into power. But
Same.
at this point, I just have the one power module, which I just move from case to case as I'm using it. So the rails are the most expensive part, and so I'm not going to buy a pair of
I could
rails.
probably send you a power bus at some point once I've swapped out to the new ones. But
I was building. So I've got some rails. I did buy some rails when there was a sale going on. So right now there's this, this thing which was designed to go above a keyboard. So that's why it's wide. So it's 126 times 2. That is very wide, and the middle bar there, a piece of wood separating them, isn't actually it's not necessary. It's not architectural or whatever.
Right.
So I have had the idea of at some point taking that out and replacing it with a metal strip and putting in a bus board. Just because getting from this end of the case to that end of the case requires long cables, which I have, but there's a lot of cables going around.
Right. And that's where I think that, I mean, again, I don't have 1U, so we're all just speculating here, but like, I think passing CV around your case is really important. Like, that's something.
Let me just switch to my module in that case.
I think that's the best use of 1U. So like, I have been considering building Eurorack 1U into like, I've got this sort of like base for this synthesizer here, but the front panel can come off, like it's not attached, so I could put a single Eurorack row, and I think there would be just space for a 1U row above it, because I'm going to build another one of these for under this.
This is my 1U.
So maybe, but if I did that, it would be for passing CV around.
Nice. Right. Yeah, I thought about building, like, my original, before I was first designing this case, I thought about building a make noise version, like my own with lights, since that is something I can do, is like with a tiny little, $1 chip, I could make things blink, and so it could analyze the CV if you have, if you buffer it, you just analyze the CV and make colors. But then I was like, that's a lot of work, so but
it's a lot of work.
But like doing an unbuffered, the dumb unlit unbuffered mult would be pretty straightforward. But I do have enough other. I realized so as the case gets bigger, I had exactly the number of modules to fit in there, and now I have more modules because that's how it goes. Like, as soon as I'm done building this muck slicer, then I will not be able to fit everything in there at all. And then and then we got some more modules. But anyway, but the idea is, rather than get bigger, I find that I'm happier when it's smaller. So my next cases are downsizing. So I have 2 pairs of rails coming up. I've got 104. I was like, I think the 6U 104 HP is a case size that I'd like to play with. So I have those, and then I also have 2 40U rows worth of rails, and that one's going to be a tiny little one where it'll be the same exact design as this case, with the no coast and no control to the left, and then those are about 48 HP, and so then it's, since 40 was available, it'll be basically just the same size, those 2 plus modules to the right, so it's basically just a support for those. So that's the idea, and that one will be totally very portable. But I was going to build my own bus boards. Like, I had, I was like, I know how to solder. I can make my own, like just an unbuffered or whatever, just a dumb bus board, passive bus board. It's like, I can make that myself. And Joe, Sunbear Electronics at NIMS, he had a bunch of PCBs that he had printed out, which were just, bus board. You just put headers on it. And so that's actually, he sold me some of those. And that's what's inside this case right now. So I was going to get more, else I was like, I'm going to learn how to design PCBs, and that'll be the first thing I do. But then I started pricing it out, and I realized that just to buy a pre-assembled passive mult was pretty much the same price as buying all those headers. So,
Yes.
so I just got 2 of these, the Bafako, that'll just go next. Which
Yeah.
actually I realized that was not actually saving much by building my own necessarily.
Yeah. I mean that's the same for like patch bay, like anything really simple, passive. Like it's almost as much money just to make it yourself as to like get a kit or something. Which is why I haven't built anything like that yet. Jacks are expensive, and you never have enough.
Well, speaking of the Quarv again, like that's the thing that impressed me about it. Like, that's a lot of jacks. That's
or sockets.
Yeah.
I don't know why I call sockets jacks. I'm sorry.
no, they're
Just
jacks.
happened.
They're jacks.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, no, they're jacks, and then plugs are the plug part. So
I don't know.
the socket is the jack thing.
I don't
Socket
know.
is a jack, right? I mean,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but there's a lot of those, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of drilling. It's a lot of
Just to sort of
Buzz-
close out the 1U thing here, one of the other challenges there is about 1U is it's really super hard to get the math to go up, well, because I mean they're so odd sized, all of them. They're 14 and 12 and 10 HP, right? And here I have a whole of like 9 HP or 10 HP.
Oh, because there's not going to be like a 2 HP 1U module,
Yeah,
right?
no.
Like
Not really,
okay.
not really. No, that's sort of
The
the issue. You
two
can do that-
jack module.
Yeah,
I mean, attenuator.
in one of my
But
early
you-
sort of modular grid plans, I had that mosaic module, which is basically just a LED. You can get it's like 4 or 6 HP wide, and it sort of just lights up with whatever you feed it.
I think you could make a
test signal, but
2 HP
yeah.
no pass filter, or
yeah, you could do that.
They're great.
It's kind of like
Great.
what I have here. It's just cardboard instead. Yeah. But I mean, I use them super much. These modules here. I mean, it's an envelope and 2 molds. Is super handy. So I mean, it wasn't that bad of a choice to get them. It frees up other space.
I feel like if I had a 1U road when I first started buying modules, there are a bunch that I would be happy to have as 1U, but since I already have them, I think that's the thing for me is like I feel like I'm not going to go into it yet, but because like I have to rebuy something which I already bought when I'd rather buy something new that I don't have.
Plus,
but
we haven't
I'm
actually.
happy to if like I have nothing against 1U.
But we haven't mentioned the actual elephant in the room when it comes to 1U, and that's the fact that there are 2 competing formats. And that's just so annoying. Why did they have to do that?
Okay, so I know that there's 2 competing formats. I know they don't fit each other. Is it because they're slightly
don't.
different in height, or what?
Yes.
Yeah, height.
Oh my gosh.
One
Like, I think
is planned. One is planned with the rail lip, and the other one is without the rail lip. So, you can
The one
fit
without
one
is a little
inside.
bit bigger.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
That's interesting. I mean, I've not noticed that. I don't have enough Eurorack modules from enough vendors to notice, but do Eurorack modules have that same issue, or do they all plan for no rail lip?
No, they are planned with lips because that is
okay.
fine.
Okay.
For moving CV around, I just use these. Works quite good. I mean, you have those network cables hanging around, but it's fine. I put them behind the rack case.
And that's the which one is that?
Doepfer. Wait, like this.
The Doepfer, yeah.
Oh, Doepfer multicore.
Can
But
you
there's-
go behind the scenes? Like, could you have that pass
No, I mean,
like inside of your
you
rack?
would have to resolder it.
Rewire it. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could, right? You could use the solder points here.
Right,
that
just
go
solder
to
some
the
wires on
network.
there.
Yeah.
But there
But
exist
it's fine, it's
versions
fine.
that have that. I see
Yeah,
two
for sure.
called inventors use them quite a lot.
Yeah, because
But
that's how
those
I
are
would
super
prefer to
cheap.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Which makes sense because they shouldn't need even any power. I don't think. Unless they've got an op amp or something.
No, they are totally passive.
Yeah. All right. I think we've gone a little bit over time by a lot, so let's call it. We could talk about this all day. I think. Are or evening. Does anyone have any questions before we bail? Super fast answers. You have 20 seconds to figure it out.
Quick update on your case. What module have you gotten, and how's it?
Oh yeah, sure. I did a little stream. I've gotten a couple of things. So I ordered some error instruments all at once. The Lucifer, Spanky, and the Loopman. I'm sort of aiming towards drums first in this module, since I sort of got like synth sounds taken care of right now. So that's why you're seeing a lot of that sort of percussive, interesting stuff. And I moved my data bender over because there was some power sag happening over here. That's why it's over here. It'll probably go back into the big case once I swap the power supply.
Could you check your camera and maybe show us?
Oh, I didn't actually change the camera. I just left
you
you up on screen. And that's it. It's really awkward. Here we go. Okay, yeah, error instruments. Here is Lucifer, Spanky, and Loopman. Those are the 3 new modules. I've also got a soft pop 2 coming, but I'll need an adapter to slot it in here. And that's what you sort of heard. Let's turn off the ramble. This is Lucifer.
What's that module?
This one's Lucifer. In here, I'll turn it down just a little
the
bit.
one that's standing in front of the rack, the one you just clicked on there.
This? Oh, this is the dude. It's a little mixer that I use.
All right.
Because I didn't feel like running a bunch of cables up there. Like I wanted to be able to mix here, and I don't have a mixer in here yet. I mean, I have mass, but I wanted more than 2 channels. Or I guess I could do 4 channels, huh? I don't know. I haven't tried mass for mixing audio, really. Yeah, so this thing is just super weird and fun. And right now I just have a percussive, using it sort of like a percussive thing. And Spanky makes cool sounds. The coolest thing about the Spanky doesn't work on this one, so I've contacted Error and see if I can hear back from him. But supposedly when I touch this middle, I should get like distortion, like serious distortion. So I can go from like, let's see, I think this is it. Like I can go from like whatever circuit bent sounds I've got going and like just make it super gnarly, almost like adding a bunch of noise. So I'm a little bummed about that, but I think between talking with them and doing a little troubleshooting myself on the workbench, I can get it working again. I've tried moisturizing and things like that. Tried a hot dog didn't work, so ruled that out. And then the Loopman, I think I can find a sweet spot for that in my set, but yeah, it just records to a cassette player. Also has an FM or AM FM radio on it, which right now is just doing noise. So I was going to tune it to a channel, but then I realized we've already got enough copyright violations on this channel, so let's not do that. Anyway, yeah, that's the update. I started on the Meanwell RT65B dual power supply case outside. I need to go get some junctions and crimp thingy-majigs. I probably don't need them. I could solder, but it's going to make my life easier in the future if I just go get some at the hardware store. So that's what I'm going to do this afternoon and finish wiring it up. It's pretty much ready to go. And then I'm going to take all of these modules out and maybe some of those to sort of stress test the other case a bit. If it worked well and there's not like high noise floor or something doesn't blow up, like if it all goes well, I'll replace the power supplies in here, which means more like power buses for teeny tiny lunchbox cases, or like I'm debating turning my old like really old Fender Squier amp, like the little ones that come with the Squier guitars that I've had for decades now, into like turn it around and have a little modular case on one side, just blast out the speaker side on the other.
Blast, yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. So that could be pretty fun.
Magnets. So that's that'd be the thing.
Magnet. No, I do have.
But I mean, like
this
if building, putting aren't big speakers magnetic enough to mess. I guess it wouldn't matter if it was an analog module.
I don't know. Yeah, I'll probably not use my favorite modules on that. Probably rarely use the speaker, so I don't know. You're right. It could have. It is a powerful magnet. Think about that. Might need a plan B. Smaller speaker in there.
Just use digital modules.
Yeah, and then this thing I haven't had great success with yet, or I'd have showed it off. But it's supposed to, pick up magnetic fields or waves or something. So, like if I hold it on my phone, you can hear some interference and stuff like that. You think?
That's I have a couple of those, and they are amazing. You said you haven't used it yet?
I mean, just a little bit.
It's the coolest thing.
Yeah, I mean, I usually.
Sorry, my first performance, I had a. It was like doing something where I was on a stage, and a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic and pre-modular. I had like a Behringer Model D and some pedals and one of those things, which I stuck on the back of
cool.
iPad, and it was just like, it's kind of like with the video thing, it's like I had an iPad and I was just like swiping it through, and just every time I had to change the video, the noise inside was just, it went crazy. It was fun.
Right, like just I put on my phone, and like the more I like move around and like
that, but then give that some reverb and boost the bass. It's just
right. And so that's what I've been experimenting. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Boost the bass a little bit. And yeah, that'd be fun.
Find the good. There's some good. It's a pickup. It's an electromagnetic pickup.
Right, exactly. And I think it would be good for like in-person events or shows to like have other folks like bring phones and like fuck around on their phone or whatever while using this. So could be fun. Anyway, have a good day, y'all. Does anybody want to play us out, or do you want me to turn that really poor sequence I had on earlier?
I can press play on whatever I'm going here.
Yeah, that sounded really good earlier when you hit play. All right, the outro by Ising. I can't tell, but it might be doing that noise canceling thing.